Sometimes at the end of a gospel, we might ask ourselves, what on earth was that about? Or we might not really recognize the significance of what Jesus has said. Yesterday's gospel, for example, Jesus was speaking to the Jews, some of whom very much liked him, some of whom, wanted to kill him, and he says to them, when you've lifted up the Son of Man, then you will know that I am he, and that I do nothing of myself. What the Father has taught me is what I preach. He who sent me is with me, and has not left me to myself, for I always do what pleases him. As he was saying this, many came to believe in him. I'm sitting there thinking, why would many believe in him because of that? I mean, he doesn't seem to say anything particularly revolutionary there, like why, or like in today's gospel then, again, see, we're so used to hearing these things, they're not new to us, but what he's saying is very much making some of the Jews very, very irate. And again, we might hear it on why what's the issue here? When we think when Jesus says, and it is quite a he's not holding back. He's being quite direct when he speaks to them. So he says, I know that you are descendants of Abraham, but in spite of that, you want to kill me, because nothing I say has penetrated you. What I, for my part, speak of is what I have seen with my father, but you put into action the lessons learned from your father. So he's implying there's two different fathers. They repeated, our father is Abraham. Jesus said to them, if you were Abraham's children, you would do as Abraham did, but as it is, you actually want to kill me. When I tell you the truth, as I've learned it from God, that's not what Abraham did. What you are doing is what your father does. Again, he's saying, we've got different fathers. We're not born of prostitution, they say. We have one father, God. Jesus answered, if God were your father, you would love me. Since I've come here from God, yes, I have come from him. Not because I came, not that I came because I chose. No, I was sent by him. Okay, so just a couple of things. See, for Jewish culture, Jews were deeply immersed in what we call the Old Testament, so the scriptures, the prophets, the law. They were deeply immersed in that. They would have discussed it a lot. They would have talked a lot about it every synagogue, the Passover every year. They would have even their expressions. Then, of course, the Pharisees wanted a very, very stringent law-conscious observance of the faith daily. So everything was measured, and everything was. They were just trying to, reduce obedience to God to rules. And if we follow all these rules, maybe we'll have God's favor. So, they were very aware, keenly aware of the scriptures. So a lot of what's being said here might go over our heads. Now, in today's gospel, the Jews called themselves sons of Abraham. So the idea of fatherhood and brotherhood is much broader than it might be for us. So obviously, I wouldn't say I'm my grandfather's son, right? That would just create confusion. So William Cahill, who is my granddad on my father's side, or Bill or Billy, anyway, doesn't matter. William, I would never say I'm his son, because that will only just confuse the life out of people, right? The Jews would have, our father is Abraham, or to say we are descendants or we are sons of doesn't necessarily mean they're your blood parents at all. Okay, so there is same with brothers. Brothers, we're all brothers, and we're all sisters, and we're all that. So their use of these terms is much broader than for us. But even in Jewish culture, it was okay to say you're a son of Abraham, and it was okay also to say you're a son of God, but in a very broad sense. So just saying, for Jesus to say, I'm sent here by my Father, that on its own, you haven't really crossed the line yet, but just what do you mean? When we say God is our Father, it's like God is the Father of our nation, so therefore God is our Father. But He's our Father, but there's still quite a distance between us. And what exactly are you saying? Later in John 10, he will go on to say, the Father and I are one. Now that's crossing the line. Now hold on just 1 second. You can't say that. Okay? Because to say that God is the father of our nation, has provided for us as a mother, as a hen provides for her chicks, so, will God provide for us? Okay, that's all okay, very metaphorical, wonderful. But to say the Father and I are one, then you're making yourself equal to God. That's different. That's different. So this is why, when certain expressions we hear, Father and I are one, we go, yes, whatever, yeah, fine, sure, he's Jesus, Son of God. We know that. They didn't. So Jesus is, he's trying to, I don't know if he's trying to ease their understanding into confidence in what he's saying. He's being fairly direct about it. But why can he do that? I mean, what's his justification for doing that? For I have worked miracles and healed also in front of your eyes here. For which of these are you persecuting me? He backs it up with the signs and wonders. Also in today's gospel, when he calls himself, again, Son of Man. This is something we went over there a while ago. A few weeks back we mentioned this. So when you raise up the Son of Man, might have been yesterday's gospel. Yes, when you lift up the Son of Man, you will know that I am he. And again, we hear Son of Man and go, yeah, Son of Man. It's kind of a normal term for us. If Jesus were to have said, I am greater than the caped Crusader, who's he comparing himself to? Oh, you're all so young. Older people. If Jesus were to say, I'm better than the caped Crusader, he'd say, I'm better than Batman. Okay, Batman, right? If he were to, you don't know that? If he were to say, I'm faster than a speeding bullet, who's he comparing himself to? Superman. You don't watch enough TV. Okay, he's comparing himself to Superman. So certain expressions, it would be very clear who he's comparing himself to. So if Jesus used the expression Son of Man, who is he comparing himself to? The Jews would have known immediately, just like you knew who Batman was. Okay? The Jews would have known immediately. If Jesus says, when you have lifted up the Son of Man, this expression was very, very clear to Jews, right? It goes back to, we mentioned this a while ago, but it's good to tie it all together. In Daniel, the book of Daniel, right? In one of Daniel's visions, he says, I saw in the night visions one like the Son of Man, right? Came on the clouds from heaven. Anyone who comes from the clouds, in Jewish understanding, was a god. So he comes from the clouds from heaven, and he came to the Ancient of Days. Therefore, God, as we would understand him, God the Father. And to him, so the Son of Man, was given dominion and glory and a kingdom. And that all people, all nations should serve him. And his dominion is an everlasting dominion, which shall not pass away. So if what's given to him is glory, due only to God, and his dominion will never end, then this Son of Man is God or divine. So Jesus, he doesn't say immediately, I am God, or I am the second person of the Holy Trinity, expressions that would have been maybe helpful, not that I want to correct him, but just to clarify things, this is how we understand who he is. But he uses expressions that the Jews would have understood. So comparisons between himself and other characters, even later he will say there's something greater than Jonah here, and something greater than Elijah here, and so on. So he brings in Old Testament characters that they would have known and says that he is greater, or he is the Son of Man. When you've raised the Son of Man, then you will know that I am he. I am he. If you were to, again, I am the caped Crusader, I am faster than a speeding bullet, we'd know what he's referring to. I like my drinks shaken, not stirred. I'm James Bond. You get the idea. Without saying the person's name, he's saying who he is. You get it? You see how it works? I mean, he's being kind of subtle about it, and yet, well, it's subtle to us. For Jews, it was very clear. Okay. When you've lifted up the Son of Man, you know that I am he, and that I do nothing of myself. What the Father has taught me is what I preach. Okay, so that's why he just said in front of the crowd, I am the Son of Man. So without saying it in so many words, he has just said, I am God. Some people accept that, and we'll have the hosannas now of Palm Sunday, and some people cannot accept that and take up stones to stone him. So and admittedly, this is a big step in their understanding, to go from Jesus being a preacher, teacher, healer, to being the Son of God. This is a big step. Understandably, they would have questions, and of course they can always ask questions. Jesus doesn't ask them to believe blindly. He says, look at the signs, look at the wonders. Are these from God or not? So and if you want to talk to me, by all means, come and talk to me. He speaks to Nicodemus, as they have a good old chinwag about it. I mean, for those who want to learn, he wants to teach. He wants them to understand. But for those who simply say, your way, we just don't like it. You're not the kind of God that we wanted. And this can also happen to us. Maybe we want a God who behaves differently. I want a God who, as soon as I pray to him, everything goes well. And I want a God that as soon as I follow him, I'll have no more crosses and no more sickness. And then I'll talk to people and I will say, I follow Jesus, and because of that, I've passed all of my exams. Nothing has ever gone wrong in my life, and I've never been sick a day in my life. COVID, schmovid. We want to be able to do that. That's how I prove to all of you that my God is true, because I've never suffered. So that's, I recommend you do the same. Do you want to be Catholic? It would be lovely. Maybe that's the kind of God I would like to have. A God who, when I follow him, everything goes well. But that's not the way it works. So maybe God is the real God, the God that actually exists, is different to the one that I would like to have in my head. This was the case for some of the Jews. I think this may well be the case for many of us too. We want a God who behaves differently. Sometimes maybe we've been disappointed by maybe God's lack of action. Why does he allow these things? Why does he allow these things to happen? Where was he when all this happened? In those moments, it's so important to get back to basics and to draw on especially this one line from our first reading from the prophet Daniel. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego are thrown into so these are Jews in Babylon. King Nebuchadnezzar builds a huge statue in his own honor, and then when all these instruments are played, everyone is supposed to drop to their knees adoring the statue, i.e. adoring him. And these good faithful Jews say, we won't, no. So he says, well, if you don't, I'll throw you into a big fiery furnace. And they said, well, our God will save us. But then what really inspires me, and I've shared this before, I think it's very, very important. Your question hardly requires an answer. The cheek, the gentle, subtle cheek of it. I love it. So, will you adore the statue when all these instruments are played? Your question hardly requires an answer. If our God, the one we serve, is able to save us from the fiery furnace and from your power, O King, he will save us. And this is the kicker. And even if he does not. So even if God does not save us from the fiery furnace, then you must know, O King, that we will still not serve your God or worship the statue you have erected. QED, punto e basta, mic drop, I'm out of here. Just like it's so blunt and calm. God can save us if he wants. And if he doesn't, we're still not going to adore your statue because we trust him. Nebuchadnezzar is infuriated, throws them all into the fiery furnace, and they do not burn, they're saved. And they see then a character like the son of the gods, i.e. an angel, with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the fire. And then King Nebuchadnezzar exclaims, "Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. He has sent his angel to rescue his servants, who, putting their trust in him, defy the order of the king, and prefer to forfeit their own bodies rather than serve and worship any god but their own." He converts due to their fidelity. If they hadn't been thrown into the fiery furnace, he wouldn't have converted. So it was that huge act of faith that brought about his recognition of the one true God. He brings good from apparent disaster. And so in us. If and when the cross comes our way, and adversity comes our way, and illness comes our way, and failure comes our way, and division and whatever else the world might throw at us, we can react If our God, the one we serve, is able to save us from this cross, this difficulty, he will. But even if he doesn't, we will stay faithful to him. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord.